Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Demetrius Johnson, and you're listening to MMALatestNews.com.
It's time to roll, baby.
What is up, guys? Welcome back to MMA Latest. We're here with a new show called The Timeline, where we're going to be giving you some of the biggest stories of the week, of course. And we've got the biggest news, of course, this week is Paige VanZant, first signing for bare knuckle UFC, of course. But we have got some breaking news, as you would have seen on our social medias just recently. Cage Warriors have announced 2 more fights this week, and of course we've got the return of SBG Manchester's George Smith, who comes into this fight with a 5-fight win streak, of course. Most recently, he fought at the last event in the UK, I believe, to have the crowd at Cage Warriors 112. Of course, he did win that fight in about 13 seconds with an armbar victory against Lucas Marcinkowski. It was a phenomenal performance for him, and of course, you know, he's a highly touted prospect, fighting out of Manchester, of course, pardon the pun with the podcast. But I feel like, you know, this is a huge fight for him. It's probably a good matchup for him, and in terms of if he gets a good win here, he could be seeing himself lined up with a call up from the UFC, whether it's for a Contender Series appearance or an actual contract to make his debut, which is fully deserved of him at this point in his career. Obviously, he lost his very first pro fight, but since then he's been on an absolute tear up of that, you know, of that professional scene, and his bout at Cage was incredible. I was there with MMA Latest, of course. We covered that event, and it was phenomenal to see him do so well. He's a very sound guy, and it's nice to see his work paying off for him. Now, of course, it's going to be interesting, you know, the second to last time he was in that arena, the BEC arena, of course. He was fighting in front of the crowd. This time it's been an empty arena, but I believe he was there working with the team for the Cage Warriors 113, which was, of course, the first event without a crowd. So it's going to be interesting to see what he does there. But of course, Matt Bonner is 6-6-1, so it's a good matchup for him. You know, it's a good record, a lot of experience on there for him. He did lose to Jamie Richardson in the same arena, although a couple of weeks after him, we fought at Cage Warriors 113. So it's a real toss-up, but it's a fantastic fight that Cage Warriors are bringing us for that triple header, of course. Thursday, Friday, Saturday. This one is going to be on Thursday night on the 24th. I believe SBG Manchester's Jack Cartwright's also going to be on that night, but he's definitely fighting that weekend, of course, defending the bantamweight title. So, you know, it's going to be nice. It's almost like London buses, isn't it? You wait ages for one, but then you get 3 come at once, and it's heartbreaking for Manchester as a city to see 2 out of the last 3 Cage Warriors events in Manchester go ahead without any crowd. But that's the times we live in at the moment. But thankfully, well, at the end it's going to be 4 out of 5 going to have no crowds, unfortunately. You know, it's going to be an absolute buzz as well. But it's a fantastic fight. George Smith, as I said, a fantastic guy. And we've also got Chris Astley versus Madeira Fernandes. Fernandes also fought on that card at the against Adam Proctor. Of course, he did lose that by decision, which is unfortunate. But, you know, he's coming into this to get vengeance. It was his very first loss on his record. Up until then, he had 7 wins on the bounce. And again, this is someone who, you know, you'd be expecting to get a good win here. Maybe you see him getting a promotion up to that Contender Series spot. We've seen, obviously, Corey McKenna from Cage Warriors get a contract awarded this week, recently on Tuesday night. So, you know, you got the benchmark there set out for you. And the win here would put him up to 8-1. As I said, he did lose to Adam Proctor on the same card that George Smith fought on in Cage Warriors 112. And, you know, this is a great bout for him. 32 years of age. He's coming up against someone who's making his Cage Warriors debut in Chris Astley, who's 8-5. You know, he's on a 6-fight win streak himself, so he's, you know, definitely earned his right to be in the Cage Warriors arena. And on that level of competition, of course, his most recent win was against Thomas Paul at Rage UK 12, which was a rear naked choke. So, you know, it's a great chance for both fighters. One for Fernandes to get back onto the winning side, and of course for Chris Astley to really get a good name under his resume and really push on in the Cage Warriors scene. Now, of course, as I said, the biggest news of the week was Paige VanZant has moved to bare knuckle fighting championship. Obviously, she had her last fight against Madeira, but it didn't go away, losing via armbar, and that was her last fight on her UFC contract, so she was able to test free agency. Now, we do believe, according to MMA Fighting, that she was offered a contract from Bellator, but it seems like she's got a bit of a point to prove to herself. You know, she sees herself, and I think some of the MMA scene see her, especially fans, see her as more as just a pretty face. And she did say to Ariel Helwani, you know, she feels like she's got a stigma that she is just a pretty face, and she wants to prove the point and really nail it down that she is an MMA fighter, or a fighter at heart. And that is what she wants to be known for, of course. So it is an interesting move. You're expecting her to join Austin van der Voort, of course, her husband, at Bellator. And it seems like the Bellator setup that they have was almost perfect for her. She's a huge name. You know, her time at Dancing with the Stars really put her on the map. But, you know, it would have been nice to see her maybe fight with her husband. But it's going to be interesting to see what she does. It's a multi-fight deal. However many fights there is, I don't think it's been announced yet. But obviously, she said it's a multi-million-dollar deal, so it's one that's going to, you know, secure her financial safety, probably for life, perhaps. It just depends on whether what cost that comes with as a health almost one. And of course, bare knuckle fighting, we've seen it. It's almost a bit barbaric, the fact that it's, you know, it's very dark in terms of the environment they fight in. But again, that's a huge coup for them. Formerly, you know, they had Beck Rollins on their roster, who was almost the bare knuckle fighting queen, you could say. And they're in the same division. Beck Rollins, I believe, is at Bellator. Whether she's got an open contract to be able to go over to bare knuckle fighting, and I think there's a couple of people talking about maybe a Beck Rollins rematch, because obviously they did face off in the UFC not so long ago. But yeah, it is an interesting one. Of course, obviously now we've got so many competitors at stake now that the UFC, albeit is the #1 contender, it's not the only place to fight really, and it's almost sad to see Paige VanZant's time there came at a bitter end really. The fact that she had so many injuries, you know, broke her arm 2 or 3 times in the past 12 to 18 months. She's had multiple surgeries on that arm. You know, she was a highly touted prospect coming in 21 years of age. She was the youngest. She became a star so young, and she's still got a lot of time ahead of her. I believe she's only 26 years old still, which is phenomenally young for a fighter. So hopefully, let's say we see her in bare knuckle fighting championships for 2 or 3 years. She gets 2 or 3 fights under her name, and then maybe she can test out, you know, a return to MMA. Maybe this is a good break for her, and maybe we'll see a different side to Paige VanZant. Maybe we'll see more than just, you know, meets the eye, you could say, and you see someone who's a real savage. We've seen what she's done against Rachel Ostovich and the wins that she has on her record, but unfortunately, you know, she's been unable to fight on a consistent basis, and that's maybe, you know, maybe disrupted her career, so to speak, because she's not been able to develop as a fighter. So yeah, it's going to be interesting what BKFC do, of course, with the addition of Shannon Briggs to their roster. Paige VanZant, they brought a whole new audience towards them now. I think they're on the Zone as well, so that's a huge streaming platform for them. Maybe that was a part of the deal for Paige VanZant, that the fact that she's opened herself to a new audience on the Zone, which is also where Bellator, you know, showed their fights in the US. So maybe it's a good, you know, almost set up to go to Bellator. If she gets a good couple of wins under her belt, she's probably seen what Beck Rollins has done, and you know, Beck Rollins really pushed herself out there more to the audience and to the public, as becoming more of a, you know, she became the queen of the bare knuckle fighting, as I said beforehand. So yeah, maybe this is something to set her up, and then hopefully she goes into Bellator and really pushes herself when she comes like 28, 29, and she's coming into her prime years. But yes, make sure to hit that subscribe button, make sure to keep it locked to the social, of course. We've got a load of events coming up, and especially in the UK, you know, as I said, that triple header at Cage Warriors where George Smith will be fighting, of course. And make sure, as I said, subscribe to the video, drop it a like, and we'll see you guys on the next episode of The Timeline.